my name is Caitlin. I'm a holistic nutrition consultant, and we have a big treat today. We're here with Dr. Robert Kiltz. He's an amazing carnivore over 10 years. He is a fertility doctor. He has clinics all over the US, and he has been doing carnivore for so long. He has so much to share with us. We're so excited to have you. Welcome, Dr. Kiltz.
Caitlin, thank you so much for inviting me. It's really a pleasure to be sharing and learning at the same time.
Well, you're so positive, so I think you have a big impact on the world. So, well, I guess I want to know like why you became a doctor in the first place.
I broke a leg and I met a doctor that was inspired me to be a doctor. I was 19. I broke my leg on a go-kart my nephew made without brakes, which I didn't really think about it because I wasn't thinking I was going to go that fast, and broke a leg, and it was a good thing. Bad things create good things, and that's one thing I've learned in life. I grew up in LA, kicked out of school in a gang, couldn't read, father in jail, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Mrs. Wong taught me pottery and jewelry making in high school, and I was a worker, and I was inspired by this family practice doctor at Children's Hospital in Los Angeles on Sunset Boulevard, and he was a really great guy. And I was like, gee, I wonder what it takes to be a doctor. And I'm like, nah. And I was like, okay. And I was really good at math. I couldn't read, but I was great at math. And science was kind of in between. So I did the work, and here I am, only a couple of years later.
Yeah, just a few.
Yeah.
And so what led you into carnivore?
Well, I just want to add that my sister Marianne had diabetes since age 4. And so I saw her struggle as a diabetic for years. About 20 plus years ago, I started integrating Eastern with Western medicine in my fertility practice at CNY Fertility, adding acupuncture, massage, yoga, meditation, prayer. And a bunch of my patients were getting pregnant on that, but then some weren't. And then some were getting pregnant on this thing called paleo diet. And I'm like, okay, if someone's getting pregnant on a diet, then I don't ever talk about diet. And so I started reading about paleo diet. And then from there, I started reading about keto diet. I learned from Maria Emmerich. I tripped over her stuff. And I personally had been suffering from arthritis, psoriasis, migraines, kidney stones, bowel bleeding, hemorrhoids, depression, anxiety, OCD, ADHD, all the things you can ever imagine. And I started on paleo. I said, well, let me try this. I'm really excited about this. And then I started on keto. I got better. And then one day, about 13, 14 years ago, I ran into someone doing carnivore. I'm like, wow, I did it. And like in 1 month, all of those symptoms were gone, where keto and paleo just made them better. And some guy was like ripped, no exercise, and ate only meat. And I'm like, I'm going to do that one. And it helped me better than ever. So I've been a carnivore for about 13 plus years. And I really didn't talk about it very much. I talked more about keto because, carnivore is so out there, and keto is reasonable. Paleo is reasonable. I talked about it and wrote about it for a while. And, but then COVID hit, and now I just talk about carnivore more than anything. And what I've learned has changed my life. And I've seen so many people that have gone carnivore, and it's the game changer, but it is so opposite and crazy.
Yes. I mean, you're such a successful doctor before you got into this. I mean, weren't you kind of nervous to talk about carnivore?
A lot, because many people, diet is like religion and politics, and no one wants to talk about it. Or if I do, hey, this is my stuff, that's kind of a little insulting. Don't talk about it. And then doctors in general taught that, well, you don't know anything about diet because you never taught that. Well, what I then learned is that all the diets we ever learned, even the nutritionists, the dietitians, learned the wrong thing anyway. But yeah, I kind of work to figure out whether it's the first thing I talk about it, the last thing I talk about it, or how I talk about it in the very best way. But I ask, and I deal with couples and men and women and, all sorts of genders in between it. Like, what would you do to have a baby? And most people say anything. And so if they're really struggling and it's not working on standard stuff, I always make sure I said, well, have you tried keto, carnivore, and fasting, and many people say, "Oh yeah, I'm doing all of that." And I'm saying, "Well, tell me exactly what you're eating." Because one of the problems is I eat a healthy diet or eat clean or yeah, I'm on keto or carnivore. But when you ask specifically, then you dig deeper and understand what we're really eating. And as it turns out, that a high plant-based, lean meat diet is the cause of disease, and I call it deadly for humanity.
I mean, yeah, most people just like their chicken breasts and their broccoli, and then they wonder why they feel like crap all the time.
And I grew up that way. I mean, I grew up in LA. Every nationality's food, we loved it. That was the beauty. I loved cooking, and I loved Julia Child and Jacques Pepin and so many others. And so I did that for years. My father loved to cook, and my mother too. Taught me how to cook, and always going over to my grandparents who were Italian descent, and it's just always amazing. And our diseases were like, well, we never we thought, like our allergies or skin problems or couldn't breathe problems or bowel problems or migraine problems were just kind of normal growing up in life. And yet I took all these anti-inflammatory things, and just it was normal. And you go to the doctor, and it's like, oh, just kind of normal. Take this, and I lived with that. And then I sort of jumped into this crazy keto and carnivore world and fasting. It's such a game changer, and the more we talk about it, the more people we're going to inspire to get to that same spot.
I mean, yeah, it's so important. And I always wonder about fasting. Like, I feel like women today are really stressed out, and then wouldn't fasting be an additional stressor on them?
Well, stress and struggles strengthen, and we're afraid of hard things, but it's through hard things that we get great things. And so faith is the first thing I really focus on. And I believe in God, and I was raised Christian Catholic. I became an atheist. And then through that, I tried to figure out God. When my sister died, my best friend Dave Kilmer died. I went through a divorce and had a lot of depression and ideas. And I dug deep in trying to figure it out. And to me, the philosophy of religion is powerful if you focus on the philosophy of positive thinking, loving and kindness, gratitude and generosity, which I think most religions really focus on. There are a lot of other things that we'll find in many geopolitical areas of the world that can be very controlling and dictatorial, which I think is one of the problems with our diets around the world. But I think that I found that if you dig deep into faith and positivity, you can do hard things better and better. And then you support groups. And that's one of the beautiful things I think about the keto and carnivore worlds. We get a lot of support. We can talk about it. And you can also find a lot of examples that you're saying, wow, look what they're doing. Their mind is clearer. They're more positive in life, and their inflammation is going away. And in our cases, people are getting pregnant either naturally or improving their odds with all Western medical treatments also. So it is hard and it's struggling and stressful, but it turns out the inflammation of the brain due to a plant protein-based lean meat diet is the cause of disease, and even brain disease and stress and struggling. And so people are kind of taught, well, it's too hard to do that, or you shouldn't be stressed by that, and so you should just do easy. And a lot of that turns out to be eating sugars and plants and just doing the standard American dictatorial diet by the doctors, which basically say, oh, that's too hard, or here's just a drug and do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I had a lot of stress, when I first got sick with Hashimoto's, I had a lot of stress, and I was running, but I think it was really the diet that was eating tofu and all that kind of stuff. So it was really the diet, I think, that pushed me over the edge, and drinking
Well,
lots of coffee.
well, I mean, I'm a coffee drinker. I've been on coffee for 50 plus years. I went off coffee for the last year and 3/4, or 3 months, but I'm kind of back a little bit on coffee. I don't do very much, a lot of butter, and if I do it, but I think that it turns out that our struggles and stresses are heightened from inflammation. And I always talk about inflammation as caused by primarily 5 things. And the plant sugars, plant chemicals, plant antigens, fermentation of plants in the gut, and excessive exercise, running around, which is all part of the standard direction of us doctors telling people to do, which it turns out it's wrong. And after my sister died and my best friend Dave died from medical school, I'm like, okay, I'm on a mission. I'm a medical doctor. I do make a lot of money, but that's not what I went into medicine. We're working to help more men and women become mommies, dads, and parents, and finding that the nature within all of us is that we are the leaders of our lives. We are the lions. I say done being pigs, cows, and sheep, a domesticated animal. When you feed a lion and a wolf plants, they become dogs and cats, which are domesticated animals. And we are lions. And freedom is our birth nature. And so the dictatorial diatribe of eat fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts, and better not eat red meat is them trying to keep you. And who they are, it's us, by the way. I'm not blaming anyone. I take full responsibility from the story that I believe that someone is telling me, but through all the processes of life, you learn, you struggle, you grow. And I believe God is behind all of this stuff. He's just training us. And you don't want to hold yesterday in any negativity. You want to imagine whatever happened in your life was for your goodness and your greatness.
That's a good point. I was wondering, just to be like devil's advocate, I think that people are now struggling more and more to get, pregnant, and fertility rates are down and stuff like that. But I was wondering, is it maybe some people just shouldn't have a kid? Is it like natural selection?
Judge not, lest you be judged. God is within all of us. And so really, who are we to decide who should and should not be a parent? And I believe a lot of our challenges as humans, criminality, depression, suicidality, or all the things in between that cause a lot of our ill health and likely ill parenting, is related to a plant-based, low-fat diet, plus alcohol, marijuana, all the other drugs that are highly recommended by the government and industry and doctors. And currently, the American College of OBGYN, in a article last year by experts, recommended mostly a plant-based Mediterranean diet with alcohol, wine for pregnant and lactating women. So I always just question what they're saying. I even question me, by the way, because there are plenty of vegan, vegetarians, Mediterraneans, and pescatarians and carnivores have babies. Why some are suffering and other people are not, it's just a mystery that I don't know that. And I'm not here to judge anyone with where they're at or what they're doing. My job is to say, just question me. Don't believe me. You got to be on your own path and do what you want to do. But again, if what you're doing isn't getting where you want to go, there's so many examples out there. And I say lions and lionesses are the leaders of life, and the wolves. But you want to be a wolf that isn't going to gobble down the lamb. You want to help inspire the sheep that are actually lionesses and lions.
Well, I mean, hopefully you can help people see the light, and then they can, it'll help them to get healthier before they have a kid.
And again, you're right. The number of men and women, boys and girls suffering at younger ages and infertility is on the rise. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, adenomyosis, uterine fibroids, and polycystic ovarian syndrome I call plant-caused ovarian sickness. And the current recommendations by most dietitians, even the polycystic ovarian syndrome groups are recommending a plant-based, low animal fat, no animal product diet, which actually increases the incidence of it. And why some people get pregnant and they still have those disorders and diseases is, I don't know, but the cause of disease is the improper human diet.
Yeah, I mean, when you take out the plants, I mean, you take out the meat, all you're left with is plants and carbs, so there's nothing but things that are going to spike your blood sugar, so I don't understand it.
Which the spike of blood sugar is not the problem. When you eat plants and protein, they technically break down to a sugar substance, both of them. They go to the liver, and via insulin, they're converted to fat mostly. So a spike in sugar is what you want. You do not want your sugars to kind of be like this all the time, because that's chronic exposure of plant sugars and protein amino acids, which ultimately are either glucogenic or ketogenic, which means they're sugar.
But don't you think the meat comes in like a natural form with a little bit of fat and meat, together, muscle?
Yes, but the way meat is processed, the fat is cut away. They're raising animals to be leaner, and that is our biggest problem. And so most people are eating a lean meat diet, and it turns out the animal fat is the critical thing to eat, because your body, one, it uses only fat for fuel, plus adipose tissue is the building block of your baby and your body, because adipose tissue stores amino acids, simple sugars, all the fatty acids your body needs, the cholesterol, and all the cholesterol and the fatty acid substances that are critical for your function, including your immune system. And then they contain the minerals and vitamins, if I didn't mention that already, that are critical. And many animals, like bears, will hibernate for 6 months, 8 months, and they grow 1 to 4 cubs. Oh. And yet they lose no muscle mass or bone density, and they only utilize their fatty acids, their adipose tissue. And so when we say fat, we should really say adipose tissue is really the key thing. So, it is kind of crazy.
Can't have a 6-pack.
We are not meant to have 6-packs, by the way. We are meant to store fat in the fall for winter, or migration, nesting, or hibernation, or whatever reason that there's a paucity of food, and you're meant to slow down. And that's probably what we've done for millions of years. And many organisms do that. The majority of organisms, when you think of plants that mostly grow in zones of winter, the plants are still alive. So what are they thriving on throughout the winter? Well, their metabolism is slower. They store the sugars and in the roots, and then they send them up. Remember, sugars in many ways are the nourishing parts for the body, and the sap is critical that organism doesn't freeze completely. And so what am I thinking? The antifreeze, which is critical for all of those organisms. And sugars, by the way, are critical for our lives, but not for energy.
You mean from like converting them at certain times, or?
Well, sugar in our body is critical for glycosylation, but not for energy directly. See, I don't think we have a metabolic switch. It doesn't exist. You must either eat fat or make fat. And you would agree that around the globe, we're making fat pretty nicely. Not difficult, right? But if you really look at the human diet, the Mediterranean diet, it's fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, lean meat. There's no fat there.
Yeah.
We
Well,
might cook with olive oil,
yeah.
right? But we don't eat fat in our modern diet around the globe, by the way. And so we are getting fat because we're eating a high sugar, carb, and protein-based diet, which basically your body says, make fat, make fat, make fat. And then your body is also getting inflamed. And then a lot of the triglycerides and the cholesterol and all of the markers, which we call inflammatory, are elevated. Well, because our body's inflamed. So there's no mystery to it. And so, but if you eat fat, you actually kill the microbes in your gut.
You mean the bad ones?
No, they're all bad.
Oh.
There's no such thing as a good microbe. Name a good microbe that you would inject into an embryo or a culture in a petri dish in order to grow your embryos, or would you put in an eyes or open wound? None.
I guess I was thinking like, microbiome that, they always say you should have a diverse microbiome and all that.
Well, they do say that, but I bet they're wrong. But again, if I study your sickness and I say, wow, you have a lot of overgrowth of this bad bacteria, but when you're healthy, I notice that the bacteria in your gut are less proliferative, or you have more of what we label as good, but that doesn't mean they're the cause, or they're the cause of health and wellness, because ultimately, let's inject bacteria, yeast, and viruses in your bloodstream.
Well,
would you like them there? No.
I mean, isn't that kind of what happens when you have an autoimmune disease? It all kind of goes haywire.
Your gut, but you don't have autoimmune diseases. You have immunologic reactions to foreign antigens that get into your body through a damaged glycocalyx. Either the glycocalyx or the sugar layer of your skin, or on the outside or the inside, whereas there's this sugar layer called the glycobiome, glycocalyx, which is the barcode and the protector that says you stay in, you come in. You stay out, you come in. And so I recently burned my skin, hot fat, cooking some Kiltz fries. It took down my glycocalyx. It exposed the epithelial cells, and it was highly painful. And if I just barely touched it, it was painful. But now the sugar layer, the keratin layer, which is sugar layer, by the way, now protects me. If you think about a plant, plants are made of sugars, complex carbohydrates that are like shellac and lacquer, and a hard shell that protects the plants, protects the skin, protects the bowels. But when that's broken down, you get sick. And so the microbes, because we eat a high plant-based diet, which contains the bacteria, yeast, and viruses. So you're eating a simple and complex sugar diet. They proliferate in the teeth, the gums, the tonsils, the esophagus, the stomach. Remember, even though your stomach is a very low pH, high acidity, because we're eating so frequently, we're drinking a lot, which dilutes it. The microbes are able to break down the glycocalyx and make a village of those bugs, which then causes cancer, causes ulcers, and many other problems that we all suffer from. And then they get into the small intestine, and they cause all the bowel disorders and the cancers that we all are treating. And we're still treating with a plant-based lean meat diet and no fat, and we can't figure out why we're all dying from it. But again, the microbes, I think, are deadly for us, and taking a probiotic is deadly. And the science has been studying humanity on a high plant-based diet. So our extrapolation and our opinions and theories sound like they're really, really true, but they're only based on selling drugs or holding on to a belief system that we are very unwielding and unmoving, because the science of millions of papers on this from amazing experts with amazing degrees must be right.
Yeah. Well, you have, I mean, like I said, you're supposed to have this very diverse, microbiome from eating lots of variety, But I mean, I live what you're saying. Like, I used to struggle with chronic urinary tract infections, like one after another for 5 or 6 years. I could not, until I changed to be a low carb and more, ketogenic diet, I could not get rid of that. And same thing with my teeth. Like, I haven't had a cavity in many, many years. And I used to get cavities, every time I would go to the dentist, I would get a cavity. So
it is very radical, these concepts and ideas. I mean, being a carnivore is like, are you crazy? Keto, oh my God. I went to a PCOS conference, and basically I was talking about keto and carnivore, and they said, no, everyone, keto and carnivore is not sustainable, and it's very dangerous for you. And here's lots of pastries and fruits and things like that. Go at it and enjoy yourself, because you deserve it. And here's a psychotherapist, a nutritionist, to keep you basically staying in the way you are. Now, again, we all are where we're at when we're at. I'm advocating something that's so radical and crazy. You'll listen to me and say, what has gone on with this guy? He has just lost his mind. He's a doctor, and he's telling people that fruits and vegetables are bad, and probiotics are bad, are deadly for you. I know it's like radical, but we deserve the very, very best. And our healthcare costs are going up and up and up and up. The number of diseases are going up. Younger and younger people are getting sicker and sicker. My good friend Jonathan Fay sent me an article that the increasing rate of the bowel disorders and cancers are on the rise in younger and younger and younger people. And no one could afford healthcare anymore. It's outrageous. It's stripping us of all of our valuable money to put into our children's education and life growth and creativity.
yeah, my parents are all, I mean, my dad especially, he's been on that. He's had the gastric bypass, and then now he's taken Ozempic, and he's like waiting for the drug. It seems like he's waiting for the drug to do the work. And I'm like, you have to do the work. But he did carnivore, and then he went backwards, and he gained it all back. He lost like 70 pounds on carnivore. Then he gained it all back. And now he's doing Ozempic. But I was shocked, he has to pay $300, $350 a month for that. And he's like, yeah, I'm supposed to stay on it the rest of my life. And I'm like, that really adds up. That's a lot of money over a year.
Well, it's like a heroin addict that we're going to put on Suboxone, or an alcoholic we're going to put on a drug. So you've got a lifelong disease. We label everything a disease, and we've got a lifelong disease, and we've got a diet and a drug and a doctor for your lifelong experience, because it's built into your DNA.
You can't change it.
Which you can't change it, which is a lie. Or they really believe it. And because all of us, I mean, it was a doctor. I was like, a doctor killed. I mean, if 20 years ago, right, I would have said, Kiltz, you don't know what you're talking about. Have you read the papers on this, this, and this? And I'm a Mediterranean, and look at our wonderful lives. But I was taught by my patients, who led me to a new way, and I call it the lion's way. I don't like to use the word diet, because diets are dead. Diets are like, oh my God, there they go, put me on a diet, and I'm going to need a dietitian. I'm going to have to go get weighed every week, or, I'm going to have to, tell them, my God, I did eat some chocolate today. Yes, I did. Right. But, I don't feel guilty about any of it anymore, because I've never felt better. And I would rather eat a cookie, cake, or ice cream than eat fruit, fiber, vegetable any day of the week.
Something easy, simple to digest.
Simple to digest, simple sugar. It spikes quickly. Insulin goes up. It says, okay, let's convert you to fat in the liver so you can survive the famine that's coming, or the pregnancy that you're having not to eat for the first trimester.
Oh, yeah. I was okay the first trimester. I didn't really want red meat, but I just switched I ate a bunch of seafood, I ate a bunch of chicken, and I was fine. I mean, I don't understand this. People say, well, I couldn't eat meat. Well, there's a lot of other meats besides red meat. Like, eat something else. Like, don't tell me that there's nothing else. You could eat protein powder. I mean, if you had to, you could eat yogurt. I mean, there's a lot of things that you could eat.
Well, you're better off making a Kiltz's ice cream,
Yeah.
which is full on. If you get raw cream, even better. Add some eggs or egg yolks and put a little bit of white cane sugar in there with a little vanilla or just straight cane sugar. You might even caramelize it a little bit and add some brown butter even, because I think that, again, amino acids and simple sugars digest almost identical. Remember, they contain gram per gram the same amount of calories, whatever that is. But this is radical stuff that I think is really important. And obesity causes no disease. None. Zero. I don't care if you're 400, 600 pounds. It's not the cause of your disease. Now, if you're excessive weight and you can't walk because of the stress and strain on your joints, you go carnivore in a month, 2 or 3, you'll drop 100 pounds. Look at Shaun White and so many other people doing it. And you'll be like, wow, now I'm 300 pounds and I could walk and move and do so many things because your muscles are stronger than people know because you're carrying so much weight. It's a game changer.
So tell us about your typical day of eating.
Well, I typically get up at 3 and I don't eat. I may have a little bit of Gerolsteiner water in the morning. I get to work by 4 o'clock. I do some reading. I do my live at 5. I typically won't eat all day. I don't drink a lot of water. I sometimes have a cup of decaf or rarely a cup of caffeinated with a bunch of butter in it, but that's not very common anymore. And I typically don't eat until nighttime, which I have ribeye steak or a burger or 2 burgers with butter and blue cheese and some salt on it. That's my typical. Once in a while, I'll make some Kiltz fries dipped in blue cheese and mayonnaise. Like a hollandaise sauce even is really good. I love
You
sour
make them
cream.
in like beef tallow or something?
Oh yeah, beef tallow, lard, or duck grease, and I twice fry them to extra crispy. Simplify the sugars, and I typically recommend no skin. The potato skins contain a lot of toxins, and so if you eat them a lot, it's not good. But I don't have those. Those are treats for me. Sometimes I might snack on a little bit of butter, and sometimes I'll bring some steak or some pork belly that I've roasted up or cooked and saved it, because not every day is the same. But like all of August, I was like 1 meal at night, fatty meat, salt water, and I didn't cheat. The last day of the month, I'm like, okay, it's the evening. The last day of the month, I went to the next level, which occasionally I have my steak with some fries and things like that and some ice cream. But that's my typical day is 1 meal at night, fatty meat, about a fistful is what I do. I like it black and blue or raw. I dry age it a lot and I slice it up, and then I'll melt a little blue cheese and butter. I whip it up, and I love Malden and Redmond salt mixed, and I'll put that in it, and that's typical. And I don't have sides, and I don't cheat very often, because you can't have sides and cheat in a partnership, in a relationship. It's deadly for us, and that's where I think the sides are the ones that get us off track. And I sometimes have some chocolates or ice cream, but I really minimize those things.
Well, you're making me hungry.
And I don't do chicken very often, but I do sometimes. I might have a top of a pizza with some cheese and some pepperoni. I do occasionally have some Parmesan Reggiano, Gorgonzola blue cheese. I love some really good cheeses, or some good cured meats. I love those from time to time. Bruno Panucci makes a really great cured meats, and I love his stuff. He's amazing. And so, but I'll sometimes have Let's see. I mean, I love chocolate chip cookies. Once in a while, I like, oh, I love them. I go, and but again, I don't do fruits, vegetables, salads, cereals. To me, those are the real killers.
Yeah, the salads. I think the women and the salads are just, and then they dump like, craft dressing all over it or something. It's like, oh no.
See, I remind everyone that carbon dioxide in the air and sunlight make a long chain carbon particle called a carbohydrate, a starch, or cellulose. They're
Yeah.
the same thing. And plants are basically have their rigidity and they can live for thousands of years. You got to recognize that. And it's the sugars. That salad is just sugar. And every fruit, vegetable, seed, and nut, and every cereal is sugar.
Yeah.
And it's never required in the human diet. And I call salad nature's toilet paper. And you're in the most recalled food is going to be related to a fruit or a vegetable or salad.
Lettuce.
It's lettuce, 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 lettuce. Poop and piss, and it's all organisms poop and piss, and bacteria, yeast, and viruses are everywhere. Again, carnivore doesn't mean you're going to live 1,000 years. You feel more amazing. You're willing to take risk. You're willing to like lose it all. You're willing to be, it's like an outlier, an outcast, which
Yeah.
lions are.
Well, what's some first steps you would tell someone who's like looking to get pregnant as far as their diet or lifestyle?
Flatter your man or woman, feed them a really good ribeye steak with butter and all the great stuff and salt, and then make love to them. And visualize and have faith in the thing you desire as if it is, and it shall be that or better. So now, keto's good. Paleo, it's sort of you go from the standard diet to the paleo diet to the keto diet to the carnivore way. And I would say carnivore is the top of the line. But if you're in the keto world, and again, a vegan, vegetarian, Mediterranean can do keto for sure, and which means high fat. And to me, it's high animal fat. So a vegetarian and above a vegetarian, Mediterranean, pescatarian, and carnivorian, they can do animal fats. Vegans, it's coconut oil because it's a saturated fat, by the way, which I think is okay. And I would say cook the carbs well and eat one meal a day. That'll help tremendously on the nutritional side. And that's why, as a Mediterranean or carnivorian or a vegetarians, eggs, butter, cream, cheese. Green, uncooked stuff and colorful stuff and fiber is just deadly for us. I'll go to a white potato or white rice. All the stuff on the outside is where the lectins, oxalates, phytates, and the antigenic. Antigenic means if I am exposed to this, my glycocalyx is going to say, you're foreign. I'm going to tag you, or I'm going to react, and I'm going to send all my buddies in to get you. The problem is we're overly exposing our bodies to this, and we get chronic inflammation. So we get infertility, ADHD, OCD, rheumatoid arthritis, bowel, just name a disease. It's from that. So by simply adding more fat, eating less frequently, one meal a day, I think is the very best way to reduce gastrointestinal inflammation, which will reduce systemic inflammation, which will reduce the inflammation to every organ of your body, and the two most important organs of your body, three: your testicles, your ovaries, and your uterus. Those are the most important things that on keto, carnivore, and fasting that you will heal, reduce inflammation. And I've seen so many babies on those nutritional ways.
Oh, that's great advice. Well, those are wonderful tips, and we have just had a great conversation here, Dr. Kiltz. So everybody make sure you follow Dr. Kiltz. Tell us your channels and where to find you.
drkiltz.com, and you can get on Amazon the Kiltz's Keto is Carnivore. The next book is coming out called The Baby's Way, So I'm excited about that. If you just go to drkiltz.com, then you find all of our craziness. And again, you have to have fun with all this stuff. I have more fun with this than anything. And if it's painful, you gotta go to drkiltz.com and watch Kiltzy in the morning at 5 a.m. Monday through Fridays on my 5 a.m. Live, which is about positivity and we're carnivores. And again, if you're a vegan, vegetarian, Mediterranean, you're welcome. You are a carnivore. You're a lioness and a lion. I don't care what you choose to eat. Love and kindness and faith are critical, and you need to see God's within everything.
Well, you have an amazing outlook. Thank you so much for being on my channel, and everybody go follow Dr. Kiltz, and please share this video with a friend, subscribe, leave a comment down below what your favorite part was. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.